Capitulo 210-213. The next day, after the little, big, celebration that happened in a small part of, all over, Avalon, I immediately woke up to do something I should have done a while ago. And that is to change the poor fox's name. I mean seriously. What was Clayman smoking to name something fucking Ninehead? I mean, I get that the fox can split up into multiple entities via its tails. But is it so hard to think of anything else? Hell, even Kontaru is better. Get it? 'Cause foxes make the con sound. Yeah, it's a shit name, but it's better than fucking Ninehead. So yeah, I woke up and immediately sought out the poor little fox to rename it. Quickly finding it snuggled up in Ilya's and Shizu's arms as they all slept, I sneak up to them silently while thinking about an important subject in my mind. Should I name it Kamara, like in canon, or should I name it Senko? Choices. I make a cup of coffee with Yahweh, and start sipping before I eventually decided to name her Kamara. I mean, I named everyone with their canon names, I see no reason to stop now. Plus, there's already another fox girl living in Avalon who I named Senko 'cause she looked so much like Senko-san. Rimuru, your name will be Kamara. I whisper as I feel my magicules flow into the newly named Kamara's sleeping body. And I stare. And I keep staring. I even push universal sense to its absolute fucking limits. There's no fucking way I'm going to miss her evolution process. I've had this question of how monsters evolve for the longest time. And I'm going to solve this mystery even if it's the last thing I do. And so I stare unblinking at her body for half an hour. I may seem like a creep, but I don't care. I'm getting to the bottom of this. Unfortunately, my plans were disrupted. A fly. A fucking fly. It landed on my eye. Now, with Azathoth, and its insane defensive properties, I didn't feel anything. It wasn't actually on my eyeball but separated by an infinitely thin barrier. But even so, out of reflex, I blinked. It wasn't a slow blink either, it was a fast blink made out of habit to chase away the fly. And the fly did indeed get chased away. But during that blink, Kamara evolved. She evolved within a tenth of a second. How? Veldanava, I swear I will find you and teabag you for eternity for this. No wait, that's not a good enough punishment. Veldanava, I swear I will eat meat buns in front of you without giving you any for eternity. Ha, take that you already deceased asshole. Oh yeah, he's already dead. Fuck. So, in the end, I took the fly that distracted me, teleported to a random place on the other side of the moon, took out Yamato from my inventory, and slashed at the fly with all my fury and annoyance. The result was the complete disintegration of the fly and a gash in the ground that is several meters wide, dozens of meters deep, and several kilometers long. I teleport back into the room where Shizu, Ilya, and Kamara are sleeping. Kamara now looks like an adult fox woman with brown hair and 9 long fluffy tails extending from her tailbone. The scene of both Kamara and Shizu hugging each other with Ilya in between them. Ilya, Yuri is good for the soul. I teleport back home and contact Testarossa for a report on Pharma's situation. I yeeted Yom and his group through a portal leading straight into Pharma's throne room a while ago. Yom became king as agreed upon. Of course, I didn't toss him into that political lion's pit without any help. I also gave him a book with the title of How to Be Button Blood Type King for Dummies and Loki's Scepter from the Marvel series. You know, the one that can mind control people. No need to worry about people opposing you if you can just brainwash them to do your bidding. Mwahahaha. And since Testarossa is my military attaché, she deals with things outside of the country and, if needed, crush any problems. I asked her to keep an eye on Pharmas, so I contacted her about its current status. And unsurprisingly, everything is going well. Within a week, Jurin took over the minds of all the nobles in the country with Loki's scepter, and Yom is just solidifying his position as king in the eyes of the commoners. All is well. A few hours later. Rimuru. I'm bored. I'm sitting in my home, laying back on a couch and staring at the ceiling. And I'm so bored. Can't someone time skip a few days? Or at least until something exciting happens. No, I can't think of things like this. Rimuru, right, this is a good chance to relax. I'll just sit back and enjoy my day. I mean, it's been a rush of events and things are finally calming down. What are the chances of something suddenly happening to disturb my peace? Sigh. I guess even tempting Murphy didn't work. Guess I might as well really try to relax then. Stomp. 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 Bang. Mikoto, Rimuru. Something came up. Mikoto kicks open the doors while I turn my head to look at her with twitching lips, as I struggle to hold back my overwhelming smile. Let me just say this, I fucking knew it. One explanation session later, and I realize what's going on. Veldora's reincarnation is coming to the Jura forest. And it's flying fast. Mikoto, it's probably going to arrive in a few hours by now, according to Ilya. Also, did you name Kamara? Rimuru, yes, why? Mikoto, when? Rimuru, while they were sleeping. Mikoto. Huh. So you were stalking them while they slept, huh? Spark. Not wanting to suffer, I grab Mikoto by her waist and pull her into my chest in a hug. Mikoto, Kia. We ended up snuggling for an hour or so, just enjoying each other's body warmth. I laid back on the couch lengthways while slowly stroking Mikoto's hair while she rested her head against my chest. She smells nice. Unfortunately, the time for me to deal with this new storm dragon arrived, so I had to separate. I wonder what this new dragon is like. Without much of a fuss, I make a compass that points me to the nearest true dragon with, Yahweh. But then I realized I'm a fucking dumbass since Gaia is also technically a true dragon, even though he hasn't hatched yet, so the compass pointed towards his egg which is not even a few meters away from me. So I edited the compass, yes, I can now edit my creations, to point towards the nearest storm-type true dragon which caused the needle to point in the exact opposite direction. Rimuru, ****. Right, I'm going now. I say while shuffling out from my position as Mikoto's body pillow. Thankfully, she lets me go without much of a fuss aside from a very adorable pout. I almost decided to just screw the dragon and ignore it just to stay with her. You know what? Yeah. I'll just stay. Instead, I make a clone. Rimuru, you. Deal with the dragon. Clone Rimuru too, how about you deal with the dragon, and I stay here? Yeah. Rimuru, No. Clone Rimuru too, ugh, fine. My clone grabs the compass, turns around and walks out of the house while I turn back to a happy Mikoto. A few minutes later, the door was kicked open. Bang. Ilya, Oniai-chan. It's not fair. I want to cuddle too. While saying that, she jumped at us and joined our little cuddle session. Clone Rimuru 2 POV. Hi, I'm Clone Rimuru. The second one. Original Rimuru made a lot of clones, but he only kept Clone Rimuru 1 and dismissed every other clone once their jobs were done, which is probably what's going to happen to me after I deal with this new Veldora. Thank God. I don't want to go through what Clone Rimuru 1 has to go through. I mean, doing paperwork every day for months on end? Shivers. No thanks. Right, new storm dragon. I left the house and teleported in the direction the needle was pointing while also shifting back into reality from the mirror dimension. I am currently high in the skies, solidifying space underneath my feet so it would be like I'm standing on the ground. As for my location, well, I'm a few hundred kilometers west of Avalon. This is the place where the newly born storm dragon would most likely pass through. Even now, with the dragon quite far away, I can see storm clouds gathering in the skies in the distance. I remember the original Veldora never had any self-restraint and only learned the benefits of holding back after reading all the manga and novels in Rimuru's memories. This must be the natural phenomena Veldora always brought with his mere presence. No wonder everyone thought of him as destruction incarnate. I feel a mass of magicules on the horizon. It feels familiar, yet different. Like Bryce, yet more powerful, untamed, wild. And, you know, less slimy. Deciding to not bother waiting, I teleport a kilometer in front of the mass of magicules, allowing me to easily take in the majesty of this beast. He looks like he did in the anime, from my memories. Maybe a bit thinner. Yeah, looking closer, its limbs and body are a bit thinner. More precisely, he looks more streamlined. Maybe a bit smaller too. Must be a difference that popped up due to his reincarnation. Having me appear out of nowhere caused the dragon to immediately stop midair. Doing so caused a massive gale to erupt which did nothing but ruffle my clothes and perhaps rend the ground several kilometers below us in a large radius. He doesn't need to flap his wings to stay afloat, dragons can channel their magicules through them to stay midair. Rimuru Clone 2, hey. You're the new storm dragon, right? He doesn't say anything. He just continues to stare at me with his glowing golden eyes. It's a little intimidating, to be honest. I mean, I may be overpowered as fuck, but that doesn't change the fact that this guy is a fucking dragon. Dragons are legends in my old world. Rimuru, so, the little sister of a friend of mine detected you approaching his city that's a few 100 kilometers that way. I say while pointing in the general direction of Avalon. Rimuru, why are you approaching? Once again, the dragon says nothing. But this time, it just looks like he's searching for an answer. Curious. A gender-neutral voice enters my ears. It sounded like a male and a female speaking at the same time, overlapping each other. And surprisingly, that answered my question. I mean, it was pretty obvious. Avalon, or rather, the Jura forest was where a lot of shit happened to Veldora. He got sealed there for 300 years, got drained of all his powers and died while having his Veldora aspect trapped in a certain asshole. Said asshole was then killed, which also happened in the Jura forest nearby Avalon before the Veldora aspect was released from within the city itself. Obviously, it must be curious. But there's a bit of a problem. Rimuru, yeah, there's a bit of a problem with that. You see, your aura would end up killing any lower-ranking monster who feels it and terrify most other higher-ranking ones. Furthermore, with your unrestrained aura, the environment around you is also changing. You are, quite literally, a force of nature. I say while pointing to the gathering storm above us. There is no rain, at least not yet, but there are dozens upon dozens of black lightning bolts raining from the sky and striking the ground. Furthermore, the wind buffeting my body is enough to send me flying through the air if I didn't anchor my position in space with Azathoth. He doesn't say anything, but it seems he realizes the problem at least. Sighing, I use Yahweh to create a simple chain necklace while also using Odin to enhance its effects. What are those effects? Rimuru, this necklace will absorb any excess magicules and aura you emit. I say while holding it up for him to see. Won't fit. He says with his weird voice. Rimuru, can't you transform into your human form? Don't have. Was the immediate reply. What do you mean by, don't have? You don't have a human form. Wait, I remember now. Originally, Rimuru gave Veldora a clone body for him to inhabit. That didn't happen in this world. Rimuru, right. Well, let's do this then. I say while wearing the necklace over my neck while adding an extra effect to it. I then spread my arms open and locked eyes with the menacing dragon. Rimuru, take me. Ha. I'm sitting back at home snuggling with Mikoto and Ilya when I suddenly gain an influx of information. Instinctually, I knew that this information was the memories of the clone I made not long ago, the one I sent to check on the new storm dragon. The first thing that entered my mind were thoughts and plans to kill myself. I don't mean to say that the clone wanted to kill me, I'm saying that the clone wanted to commit suicide. It seems it really didn't want to risk any chance of becoming a slave like Clone 1, huh? Well, that, or this specific clone had the personality of a depressed emo edgy teenager. Anyway, regardless of his thoughts, he had to complete my mission first since, in the end, he is an effect of my skill. The memories continued to flow into my head and I got the full picture. The clone went out and met the new Veldora. He found that the dragon wanted to come to the Jura forest out of curiosity, and so my clone made a necklace to suppress its magicules and aura so it wouldn't accidentally kill anyone. However, the necklace wouldn't fit, so he decided to give the dragon a new body. His body, to be exact. His line of thought was, hey, I'm a clone, Canon Rimuru used a clone for Canon Veldora to inhabit, plus I don't have to go back and risk enslavement at the office with the other guy, so it's win-win, and so he just offered his body to Veldora. Although he could have worded it differently. I mean, take me. Seriously? Rimuru, right girls, please get up. I need to meet the new Veldora and he should be appearing soon. Mikoto, Ilya, I don't wanna. Both of them groan while resting on my chest, each of them taking one half. I honestly wonder to myself if I deserve to be in this position, being cuddled by two amazing girls. Meh, I probably don't, but I'm not complaining. Rimuru, no, but seriously, I need to go. I'm sorry. While saying that, I teleport out from my position under them. Feeling their sense of warmth disappearing, they instead grab each other and press their body up against the other. Wipes bloody nose fucking hell, Yuri really is good for the soul. But alas, I wasn't lying when I said that the new Veldora would be appearing very soon. Sad. My clone made a necklace to suppress its power, but once he decided to give his body to it, he added another function to the necklace. A teleport function. Basically, it will teleport the wearer to Avalon on command. Since, you know, the dragon's human form wouldn't be able to fly. True to my estimations, I feel a spatial ripple appear not far from here. Specifically, it appeared next to Shizue's memorial on the hill with the great sunset view surrounded by wisteria trees. Teleporting again, I reappear several meters away from the figure that recently appeared so as to not startle them before I slowly walk closer. They have their back turned to me, so I can't really see what they look like, so I call out. Rimuru, hello. My name is Rimuru. You must recognize me as you already met my clone. My words were stuck in my throat as he turned around. Cough, sorry, let me rephrase that. My words were stuck in my throat as Esichi turned around. The figure is a rather cute young girl with black hair reaching her hips and golden eyes. Looking closer, I notice that her ears have pointed tips, and her eyes have noticeably black reptilian slits in them. Thankfully, she is wearing clothes as they have generated using her magicules, designed from her subconscious desire. Let me just say that her subconscious desire is fucking extreme. She is wearing a mainly black gothic Lolita design dress, with certain parts containing purple and pink. And it's very revealing too. Even so, I can tell. She is strong. Her strength hasn't diminished in her new humanoid form, and if not for the necklace, then her presence would have already drowned the area in vicious winds and lightning, whether she wanted it or not. But, I have one concern at the forefront of my mind despite this. Rimuru, why the fuck do you look like Ophis from High School DxD? Why? How? She looks exactly like Ophis from my memories if you exclude her golden eyes. What the fuck? NN. She makes a cute sound while tilting her head. I swear I saw a question mark next to her head too. Rimuru ****. First I find that this new Veldora is in fact a female, or at least she's using a female form. Next, I find that her clothing style also isn't different from DxD Ophis, being very extreme. I mean, tape on her nipples. Really? Whoever designed her character had some fetishes that I may or may not approve of. I hold up my hand and use Yahweh to generate a meat bun before nibbling on it. I need to de-stress. Rimuru, so, do you have a name or are you still called Veldora? She doesn't respond. She doesn't even seem to register my words. Instead, her golden reptilian slitted eyes are staring intensely at me. No, not me, at the meat bun. I like this girl. I make another meat bun and toss it over to her. She catches it with both hands, raises it up to her face, stares at it for several seconds, sniffs it a few times, and takes a very small bite. NH. It felt like she just discovered what drugs were. Her eyes are sparkling and her body froze, struggling to process the awesomeness a meat bun holds. Except, you know, drugs are bad. Meat buns are better. Reject drugs, return to bun. Rimuru, so you got a name or not? NN. Veldora. She nods her head. So she's still called Veldora, huh? I don't accept this. Rimuru, Nah, screw that. Your name will be Velophis. You don't have a choice, fuck everything else. The world system might wish to keep her name the same. But it seems to have forgotten one tiny detail. The world system is by bitch. Or rather, it's Ilia's bitch. Rewriting a name is child's play. The newly christened Velophis stares blankly at me, probably wondering, can he even do that, before she decides to not bother thinking about it, returning to nibbling on the rapidly diminishing meat bun in her hands. And so, I renamed the newly reincarnated Veldora as Velophis. Of course, you can't just casually give a true dragon and hope it sticks. She already has a name, and she was named by the world itself. She is, quite literally, the embodiment of an aspect of the world after all. But there's a little problem with that piece of information. You see, I don't give a shit. And so I called Ilia and asked her for a favor, asking her to fuck with the world system a bit. Ilia, why? Ilia's tired voice enters my mind via telepathy. I'm not surprised, she was just sleeping with Mikoto, and I rudely woke her up. I'll make it up to her later. Rimuru, well, I wanted to rename Veldora here as Dash. Ilia, oh. Veldora's here. Let me meet him. Ilia interrupts before I could finish. Rimuru, well, yeah, but he is actually a she dash. Before I could finish my sentence again, Ilia cuts off the connection and teleports directly to us a second later. She looks around with an excited smile for a familiar tan-skinned, blonde-haired dragon. Instead, her eyes meet with a black-haired goth loli. Her face slowly loses her smile as both lolis stare at each other. Gold eyes meet red, platinum blonde against void black. I can feel the tension rise in the air. Slowly, Velophus raises her hand, and grabs my sleeve. Velophus. Mine. Ilya, no. Velophus. Yes. Ilya, you can't. Velophus. Mine. Ilya, I said you can't. He's mine. Ilya runs forward and grabs my other arm, wrapping her own arms around it in a tight hug. Velophus looks at Ilya's arms that are wrapped around mine before she slowly copies her, wrapping her own arms around mine. Fuck me, thank God for the anti-FBI runes I set up the moment this mess started. After an hour, I finally managed to separate them from my arms. I then explained to Ilya that I wanted to change Velophus' name, to which she reluctantly agreed. I got curious why Ilya didn't immediately realize that Veldora was, in fact, Velophus. By that, I mean I was wondering why Ilya didn't know Velophus' gender until she met her face to face. Ilya, I was sleepy. I wonder whose fault that is. Humph. Baka Oniai-chan. Okay, first, yes that was my fault. And second, Omi fucking got the Twasokyet. A few seconds later, Velophus became the true dragon's actual name and we all went home. Luckily, along the way, it seemed that Ilya and Velophus aren't mortal enemies as they started talking to each other on the walk back. Well, it was mostly Ilya talking with Velophus nodding or shaking her head most of the time. Regardless, they aren't fighting like cats and dogs, so it should be fine. Until Ilya started talking about me and they both started getting more intense, that is, until Velophus busted out her secret weapon. Velophus. Wani-chan. Ilya, Kyu. Ilya looks like her heart has been struck by an arrow. Immediately after, she jumped on Velophus and proceeded to rub her cheeks against her. Ilya, what is this? So cute. I'll be your Wani-chan. Come on. Say it again. Wani-chan. Ilya currently looks insane. Not wanting to deal with this, I entered the house and continued my cuddle session with Mikoto. A few hours later, everyone is eating lunch together including our new resident Velophus and the ever-elusive Shizu. I asked Shizu what she was doing, but she just looked at me as her eyes turned blood red. Then, with a voice that sounded like it came straight from hell, she answered me. Shizu, nothing. I didn't ask again. But it was during lunch when we had unexpected visitors. Milim, Yahalo. I'm here to hang out Nanoda. Ramiris, be grateful. I have graced you all with my magnificent presence. Okay, to be honest, they weren't that unexpected. Rimuru, what? I thought you would appear later. Don't you have Demon Lord stuff to do? I ask with a raised eyebrow. In fact, how did they even get into my house? Ramiris, why yeah, I'm super busy. So be grateful I went out of my way to visit you. Rimuru, right, so you got bored and came to visit, got it. And what's your excuse? I turn my head to Milim, ignoring Ramiris' protests. Milim, well. Milim's proud demeanor vanishes and she turns into a shy, slightly scared young girl. Velophus tilts her head at the sudden change. Milim, I may or may not have sneaked away. Milim mumbles while scratching her cheek. Mikoto, is that a good idea? Didn't you recently gain Carrion and Phrase territories as well? Shouldn't you be stabilizing the sudden shift in power? Milim, but it's so burying. I don't want to sit behind a desk all day Nanoda. I want to have fun. I nod my head. Rimuru, right? Mikoto, please don't encourage her. Well, at least this explains why Milim doesn't have anyone with her, but I wonder where Jarvis is? Let's be honest, he's probably cleaning up some mess Ramiris made. I guarantee it. Ramiris anyways. I'm ready to graduate from being jobless, I'm ready to carry out my part of the deal. Where am I putting the dungeon? Dungeon? Oh yeah, that. Ramiris and I made a deal when I went to visit her for spirits to shit into the kids, fuse with Shizu's former students. I would provide the place, she would create and handle the management of the dungeon, and we would make it public while splitting the profits. To be completely honest, I'm only doing this because having a labyrinth dungeon in Avalon for people to explore sounds badass, and Ramiris just wants money. Milim and Ramiris joined us halfway through our lunch because they couldn't resist the smells, and after we all had our fill, which took literally hundreds of plates to feed these gluttons, we left the house with me at the lead as I got ready to create the best dungeon this world has seen. On the way out, Malim caught sight of Gaia's egg sitting on a random couch, to which she ran at it, jumped into the air, and tackled it onto the floor. All with a wide smile on her face. Thank God it's a dragon egg, otherwise, Gaia would be toast. Or rather, an omelette. She eventually took it with us. Name, Rimuru. Race, Origin Slime. Protection, Crest of Space. Title, Highest Tier Spirit, Leader of the Monsters, Oniai-chan, King of Avalon, Master of Head Pats, Procrastinator King, The Nutcracker, Socially Awkward Cringe Slightly Chuyuni Slime, True Dragon Slayer, Sensei, World's Strongest, Overpowered to a Stupid Degree, Mikoto's Equal. Codex, Iliasville. Ultimate Skills, Yahweh, God of Creation, Odin, God of Runes, Azathoth, God of Void, Alternative. Equipment, Yamato, Genesis. If you want to support me, check out my Patreon at https://www.patreon.com/Kaioshin. I tend to polls that decide important plot stuff in my P at Trian. Many thanks to my awesome patrons. Nicholas Berenger, Ben Phillips, Yamatancho, Jose Torres, Rizik Ottman. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be here until next time.